Hi there. Greetings again, dear lovely viewer. Totally amazing here, the home of scientific discovery, home of scientific knowledge, discovery and research since the 1st of January 2K19. In this episode, we are looking at a problem that we have with a desktop computer. Again, purchased it from Cash Converters, £20. This is the compact from Hewlett Packard. Here it is. It's the model CQ2940EA. It's a sort of desktop affair. The fault is it doesn't power on. So get yourself a drink, pause this if you need to, because we're now going to allocate around an hour to see if we can actually get this fixed. Now, it is rather grubby looking, so on the inside it's probably going to be all mucky. So we're going to go ahead and open this up, remove everything, hopefully fairly quickly, and aim to fix it. So that's kind of pretty much the intro. Like, comment, subscribe as always. At the time of making this, it's about 5 PM, so on a Friday, so good weekend to you all. I'm only going to be having one or two of these. So, £20, Cash Converters, got them today. Let's get cracking. And for this, we're going to be needing our anti-static field service kit, so let's just get that opened. So we'll be needing that. Everything is in here. That's just the sort of empty packaging, which we'll keep, so when we're done, we can put it back in. Of course, we'll just need some simple fastener drivers to get in, and of course, some nitrile gloves. And as you can see on my lamp, I also have a kind of whole magnetic affair. So, what are we waiting for? Let's crack on. Let's get this thing opened and see if we can actually get it to power up. I have no idea what the fault is. It's literally just on my desk. Now this time, this is a real fix because the power button is actually working. Well, at least it's there this time. So this is a complete fix, as you can see, that in there. So let's crack on and get this done. Straight away, we're going to have to remove some fasteners. So, a screwdriver. I suppose I better put on my nitrile glove now, or gloves. When I begin to extract the motherboard, anything like that, then I'll get the field service kit ready. We'll go from there. Gloves, let's get on. We need a flat blade screwdriver, so let's get cracking. Pause the video if you need food or drink. And let's get going. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and leave your comments below. There's a side panel off. And we'll just leave the, yeah, that's absolutely filthy. So we'll go ahead and clean that off a bit later on. And that's the inside. Hopefully we can sort of zoom in on here. I don't know if my gloves on these, yeah, it does work. Right, let's get to it. So we need to start basically removing everything. Let's go for the side panel here. Things in here. Let's just get the front panel off, rather, not the side panel, front panel. Put that up. Close it from the front. You just take a dry sponge and just brush all that off. I suppose we could just use a hairdryer on a cold setting. We'll just generally clean all this off anyway. Just to get rid of all that dust and grime out of there. Let's just deal with that. And now we have the main cavity that we can see. Sort of move the camera a little bit. There we go. Let's get cracking. So what we'll do is we'll put the screws kind of back in their respective holes where they've come from. So we'll just remove everything. Should come out. Oh, there it does. It's absolutely filthy as well. Let's just pull that up. Let's go for the optical drive. Let's remove that and that. That's absolutely caked in grime. So I'll just set that off to one side. I'll come back and deal with that a bit later on. Now you've just got to watch out because there's rather sharp edges on these things. Let's get the screws. That's not going to go in there, is it? So we'll have to put them back into here. Just for the time being. It's not easy when your gloves are sort of flapping around a little bit. Get to a point where soon I actually have to remove them. Well, hopefully we won't. Could just chuck them up on the magnetic dish, but that's fine. Oh, no, that one didn't go in. Come on. Get in there. Yep, so 2 screws there so we don't lose them. Let's go ahead. Just remove the power and SATA connection, the hard drive. Put that out of the way. Go ahead and remove the 4 retaining screws that hold the hard drive in place. And this is actually going to be a total fix. This is not like one of these silly things to do with the 32-inch Technica TV, which only turned out to be a rather foolish little power switch. I have a feeling this might be something a bit more serious. As we can see, that's all filthy as well. So we just set that off to one side for cleaning too. I've got all this dirt and grime in here. We're not going to bother removing the front USB panel. We can just leave that in there. In fact, I don't. Oh yes, it does come off. It just simply slides off. But and that, as well as the power switch, clicking is fine. So that's okay. We've got our connectors here. That's okay. That's fine as well. We'll just go ahead and start removing these from the board. This is obviously for the front USB. We'll leave the serial ATA connections there. And obviously we have now just the disk drive, is it? One of them is for the hard drive, one of them is the CD drive or optical drive. We've got the power switch. Try and get in there. Okay. Just dropped that on the floor. I don't think we actually needed to remove that one, but it's out now anyway. These 4 screws, we'll just kind of put them up here. I'm just sticking them to that metal magnetic tray that I have. Actually, that's on the fixed to the light. Actually, let's just recalibrate our camera. Now, basically what we have are several screws that now hold the motherboard in place. So this is now where I'm going to need my grounding mat and obviously the necessary equipment for grounding myself to prevent possible damage. And that damage would be obviously to internal components. So what we're going to do, just move the tower out of the way. Let's just shut the anti-static nut down. There's obviously not really much room on this bench at the moment. 15 million, trillion, killion, billion, willion things going on. That's fine. So I can kind of back out on the camera a little bit. Let's sort of get to that. There we are. Now, what we're going to do is ground ourselves anyway to some stuff here. We've got two sort of press button deals, and I actually have a metal area here where I can fix something there. That's fine. This goes round my wrist, like so. A bit loose, but that's fine. Just lock that down. It's okay. Should be. Move that up. Pull that across. Push the clip down. Let's just tighten it up quickly. Silly thing is, it's kind of misbehaving itself. There we are. Sort of surgical looking now, isn't it? Rather, because this is the computer equipment of, equivalent of open heart surgery. Basically, that's how that is. So I'm going to take the black lead, connect that onto one of these, and then that obviously connects to the grounding mat, as we see, and we can go ahead and in fact connect that to metal grounding area, and then this end goes onto our wrist strap. Obviously, there's no power connected here at all. So now we can go ahead, get in there, and you probably might not be able to see. No, now you can. Let's get the motherboard out. Hopefully this thing doesn't slide around too much. Just get these screws up and out of the way. Second one. How many are in here? Is it 4? Or is it more? So much dust in there. Could be a cause of it. Maybe not. Okay, I might actually end up needing. Alright, don't need to do anything further. Okay, sometimes what you'll find is where the screen connectors are. There we are. There's our board out. Sometimes, usually on the back here, these are actually screwed in from the other side and actually affixed to the tower completely. And you sometimes will have to undo those. Here, obviously not. Now we've got our empty case. Let's get that out of the way. We just need to ground ourselves onto the board now. So we can move that, connect onto here somewhere. There's usually some kind of grounding point If not, you can connect yourself onto these sort of pins to where the sort of CPU is there. And we can sort of zoom in a little. There's our motherboard. Now, one thing I have noticed is that there seems to be an issue with the RAM. These memory modules. Let's just get rid of the CPU fan there, just chuck that in. That doesn't appear to be seated, so we'll go ahead and remove these. So 4 gig slots, so this is 8 gig in total. Let's just pull these out. What we're going to do is, because there's obviously so much dust on here, so on and so forth, I'm just going to take a hairdryer. I love the good old-fashioned hairdryers. We'll do this without making too much of a drama for ourselves. And we're just going to get rid of some of this dust, and we'll have it on no heat because we don't want to risk damaging anything there. So we'll just unplug charger. Inside the case as well. Okay, that seems to have done that. Now, when I actually plugged the hairdryer in, the lamp has suddenly turned off. Now, not quite sure what's gone on there, but hopefully we do there. Hopefully we do actually still have the ability to use our lamp. Ah, there we are. So it's fine. I can plug my charger back in for the phone. There we are. So as we can now just see, we've cleaned off all of this. It's now looking rather respectable. It's just some streaking across here. But what we'll do anyway is we'll just do an initial sort of bench test and see if this, if that has cleared it off. And we will then proceed to power it, try to power it on, and see if that has cleared the fault. So what we'll do now is obviously first things first, we'll make sure that the fan is actually plugged back in. Find out where that's come from, which is over here. Board somewhere. That should actually be listed as CPU fan somewhere, which is that. So we'll go ahead and connect that. We need to insert our RAM. Seems to be okay. There's no sign of problems with the gold pins. So we'll go ahead and insert these carefully. And with these, it's kind of important to make sure that the board is nice and level and flat. And you just kind of press down gently until it clicks. and make sure that the retaining clips are in all the way. If this doesn't work, then probably we'll go ahead and remove the CPU, because sometimes if that's not seated correctly, that can be the cause. Now, what it is also important to do is when you're installing RAM, basically what you'll have is there's the sort of DIMM module there, and these can only go in one way. So, well, that's this is a DIMM module, and obviously the DIMM slot itself is offset cut. So these can only normally go in one way, and this looks like DDR3 memory. Now, we do actually have other sticks of memory anyway, so if these are faulty or down in any way, we can install other ones of those while we fix these, because we can reflow these and do other things. Now, basically, this is sort of ready for kind of bench test. So what we'll do is we'll fetch our tower over, and how are we going to do this? We'll have to move this over here and get it set there. And what we'll be looking for is, once we've got this sort of in situ kind of, we'll plug back in our leads. In fact, just before we do, what we're going to do is there's a small battery here. We'll remove that if we can. Should be how to do that. That's it. That's the CR2032 battery, which had a little bit of dust and grime on it. And yeah, sometimes these can die, but that should not affect it powering on. So we'll put that back in now, after cleaning that off. That battery is only really for the CMOS, and essentially what that is for keeping system time and BIOS passwords, and so on and so forth. Obviously, if the battery was flat, then the internal sort of BIOS settings would become forgotten. So that's just generally that. Now, what we'll do is we'll proceed to install our power connectors. So we just need to find out where these are. And it appears to be around here. So there's ROM recovery, F panel, which I'm assuming is going to be one of them, is it? Alright, hang on. SATA power. So that's SATA connector I put to one side. That's obviously for that. Kind of took off. System fan is there. So that's for the USB interfaces. So now we're going to have to look for power. Sure. Let's got a power switch here. We now need to go ahead and find that. It's for audio, so that's not for audio. It's actually for power switch. It should be on that one there. It's just fallen off. Pass. Put this here. Let's call it cut. So that comes down here. And goes onto here. And it plugs in. So that's a 1. And we'll have a yellow one there. So we'll just plug all that in. There we go. And we have our sort of USB connectors. plug those in as well. There should be another one here. Let's see, a 4-pin affair to find out where that's come from as well. I'm assuming it's going to go up here somewhere. There we are. And obviously these are just for necessary drives. There's going to be power to one of them. We can do. Now normally I would just do an open bench test and put the motherboard down and do things that way, but for what this is and how simple it is, I'm just going to put it back into the machine cavity. This is a slight nightmare to seat. Need to actually move this slightly. And there we are. It's kind of sort of. Let's check that. Ethernet one there is. Oh, that could have been white because that must have been shorting out against something. So we'll just sort of put that back in. So there, where the Ethernet was, there's a piece of metal that was actually jammed inside, so that could have been shorting out. So what we'll do is just, let's just see if we can move you around a little and get some more light in there so you can actually see what I'm doing. 26:55, so we could be well within good time here. Now, what we'll just have to do is sort of gently hang that off. In fact, no, we won't. We'll just remove it. I need to find a magnetic driver, because I don't think this is. It's not, so I need something fairly magnetic. So that one going to be, it's not long enough, so I'll need a magnetic driver to get that seated in. What have I done with those? I don't think they're on the bench here. Let's just see if we can find those. Bear with me. We should. That's the finding things, so we just need to use those. Of course, we have our magnetic driver. Sort of just normally always put all of my bits and these sort of pieces back when I've used them. Obviously, don't want anything becoming gone. So I'll just open this up. And there's the missing one. Is there one missing out of here? Not sure, but oh, well, there is now, because that's just flew off and hit me in the face. That's excellent. That's brilliant, that. That's going to be too big anyway. So we'll need about a size 5 on that one. Until we can figure out where that's come from. It's probably in here somewhere. I'll just sort of leave that kind of flapping around in there loose for now. Offset this to kind of one side. Hopefully bits don't go flying everywhere. Let's try and actually get this motherboard sort of reseated. What we'll do as well is once we've put that in, let's just see if we can sort of complete a metal clip. Out sort of, this is rather cumbersome, and normally I wouldn't do this thing on its side. I'd actually normally lay this down, but for where the camera is you won't be able to see the action, which is sort of unfortunate. Okay, dropping that screw. This is probably the point where I may actually have to remove one of these gloves. It's not something I really like doing because these are not a tight fit. Sort of fingertips are rather kind of loose. There's going to be a possible problem there. I'm just trying to get that in. That's sort of awkward. I think it's gone in. Just sort of, hopefully that'll slipped with the screwdriver. Luckily it slipped in a way that's not come into contact with the board. There we go, that's seems to be one in. Okay. One down, several to go. So just put in the next one. Let's just sort of move this over closer to us. 31 minutes in. In fact, actually, what I am going to do is I'm going to have to do this. I don't really like to. And anyway, I've just torn one of the gloves. I think I have anyway, it sounded like it. But what I'll do is move now that crocodile clip that we had. Now pull that out and attach that to the case now, as we've actually just gone ahead and fitted the board in, at least on one point. So I might end up having to turn this thing on its side because I can't get in there with that, and bits on the end of that screwdriver I've just readied don't appear to be magnetic. So, okay, right, well what we'll do then is, just to save time, we're going to pull this down here. I'll just get these screws installed anyway. You know what I'm doing, so that's fine. Just try and get those in. There's not really much room to work inside this. That's number 2 in. Right. What I will do at some point anyway is I'm going to invest in another sort of camera deal, so then you'll be able to see in split screen or whatever in first person view, if you will, so you can get really in amongst the action. Well, at least you can see what's going on in terms of action. Going in, spinning, not that's sort of going properly at all, it's sort of slipping out again. Seems to be in. Let's just try our secondary driver, since there's a better point on it. Yeah, no, it's not gone in quite correctly. So I'll just have to back it off a little bit and get that in and find that correct biting point. And that appears to have it. Now, one thing is worth mentioning here, never over tighten those screws, because if you do, you kind of run the risk of damaging or destroying entirely that motherboard, and if you do that, then you're kind of done for, really. Oh dear, that's awkward. I've gone in at all. Let's just see if we can get that screw in. It is, no, nearly. That's got it. Sort of. It appears to be in. It'll do anyway, just for a quick test. So let's just fetch the thing up. It's now all in. So now it's just a case of connect up what is now missing. and we kind of try to power this thing on. Missing cable I offset to one side just to get that installed. In fact, just to kind of just offer a bit more protection, I suppose. I really do at some point need to actually acquire probably better fitting gloves. Just dropped cable on the floor. Got it now. So let's just put that back in. Around. Should. It goes in that way. Let's just sort of push this back a bit so you can see in. 35 minutes. So we could be done here fairly soon, I would have thought. So it's pushed in. Nothing flapping around badly. What we'll do is with this, we're going to kind of, I think it was possibly something shorting out on there anyway, because that didn't appear to be, well, there was something shorting out and RAM wasn't seated and dust build up. Maybe that might have actually cured the problem. If not, then there's something more serious going on. While we have a quick glug of beer. That's nice. That's nice. Right, okay, so what we'll do is we'll just do a sort of test now. So we'll give this a quick dust off. So we'll need it to do that. I'm not going to bother with the sort of cold hair dryer effect. Doesn't really need that. Sort of dust off with our hands. I mean, the thing is fairly cruddy anyway, and horrible and terrible.